I've come to realize that trading isn't about numbers. It isn't about patterns or entries or even profit. It's about the space between decisions, the quiet moments where nothing happens, yet everything within you is being tested. This channel, Mind Over Markets, is not for those who seek shortcuts. It's for those who seek understanding, for those who are ready to meet the market not as a battlefield, but as a mirror, a reflection of their own mind. Here we don't chase the next setup. We chase clarity. We chase composure. We learn to trade not with emotion, but with awareness, because the real edge is not in strategy, it's in psychology. So take a breath, slow down, listen. This isn't just another lesson about trading. It's a lesson about yourself. Now, let's begin. I've spent years watching the markets move, not just the charts, but the invisible current beneath them. And over time, I began to realize something simple yet deeply unsettling. Trading isn't a battle against price. It's a battle against time, against my own need for movement, my own hunger for confirmation, my own impatience. Every trader carries a timer inside. I call it the patience timer. You don't see it on the chart. You feel it ticking quietly somewhere behind your ribs. It starts the moment you enter a trade. And the closer it gets to zero, the louder your thoughts become. Maybe I should close early. Maybe I should move my stop. Maybe I should have never entered this trade at all. The market isn't moving fast enough. The candle doesn't look right. The price pauses and suddenly your belief starts to crumble. You stare at the screen, pretending you're analyzing, but really you're negotiating, not with the market, but with your fear. Fear of losing what you already imagined to be yours. Fear of seeing red when you expected green. Fear of waiting and being wrong. That's when the timer hits zero. And that's when most traders lose, not to volatility, not to strategy, but to the unbearable silence of waiting. You see, waiting is pain for the untrained mind. We were never built for uncertainty. Our brains evolved to act, to hunt, to protect, to survive. But in trading, survival requires the opposite. It requires stillness. There's a point in every trade where doing nothing feels like drowning. Your body begs for action. Your heart races faster than the price moves. But the truth is, discipline isn't about control, it's about surrender. The market doesn't owe me clarity. My job isn't to predict, but to prepare, to enter, define risk, and let the structure speak for itself. That's when I discovered the power of trailing by structure, not trailing by emotion, not trailing by fear, but by the story the market is already telling. You see, structure is order in the chaos. It's the skeleton of movement, the language of price action. And when you trail by structure, you stop reacting to every candle. You start listening to the rhythm. You start breathing with the chart. Each high or low, each break of structure, it becomes a conversation. It becomes a mirror reflecting your own mind back to you. When I first practiced this, it was excruciating because it meant ignoring my impulses. It meant refusing to move my stop just because the market looked weak. It meant trusting the plan more than the feeling. And feelings, they don't like to be ignored. They scream for attention. They disguise themselves as logic. They whisper, "You're being smart," when in truth, you're being scared. But with time, I began to see it. Every candle carries not just data, but psychology. Structure isn't random. It's a collective expression of emotion. Fear, greed, hope, regret, printed in bars and wicks. And the more I observed, the clearer it became. Trailing by structure is not just technical, it's spiritual, because it forces you to let go. There's a strange peace that comes when you no longer move. You're stopped by emotion. When you stop trying to be right and start trying to be disciplined. When you stop fighting the noise and instead wait for confirmation. You learn to breathe through uncertainty. You learn to separate yourself from the trade. You learn that your worth isn't measured by the outcome of a position, but by the quality of your process. I began to measure my success differently, not by profit, not by win rate, but by how long I could keep the patience timer alive. Each second longer became a victory. Each calm breath in the face of chaos became progress. Because patience is not passive, it's active restraint. It's the strength to not touch what doesn't need fixing. It's discipline made visible. I used to think I was addicted to trading, but what I was really addicted to was certainty. I wanted the dopamine hit of being right, the validation of a perfect entry, the illusion of control. But every time I chased that feeling, the market punished me not with loss, but with lesson. The lesson that uncertainty is not the enemy, it's the teacher. And patience is the tuition. So I built a ritual, a quiet system to train my mind the same way I trained my strategy. Before every trade, I start my patience timer. It's not on the screen, it's in my head. I decide I will not touch this position until the next structural shift appears. No exceptions, no emotions. If the market takes me out, it takes me out. If it runs without me, it runs without me. Either way, I stayed disciplined. At first, I failed, again and again. My finger hovered over the mouse. My thoughts raced faster than the price. I broke my own rule more times than I can count. But each failure revealed a pattern, and the same pattern of thought that ruins most traders. The mind starts rationalizing impatience. It says this time is different, but it never is. The truth is, impatience doesn't show up as chaos. It shows up as logic. It sounds reasonable. It wears the mask of caution. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Because in the moment, it feels ye. But discipline isn't about what feels right. It's about what is right. Over time, I realized something profound. The patience timer is not about waiting for the market. It's about training the nervous system to stay calm when there's nothing to do. It's about expanding the space between impulse and action. Because in that space, that tiny pause lives the trader's power. That's where clarity begins. That's where wisdom grows. When the timer runs out, you learn to reset it again and again. You learn to rebuild your tolerance for uncertainty. And with each repetition, you desensitize the fear that drives impulsive trading. You no longer crave movement. You crave precision. You crave alignment. Structure gives you that alignment. It gives your patience a framework, a purpose. It's not about sitting idle. It's about waiting intelligently. When you trail by structure, every move has context. Every stop has logic. Every exit has meaning. You stop being reactive. You become responsive. And that's where consistency is born. I remember one trade vividly. It was slow, painfully slow. The kind of trade that makes time stretch and self-doubt multiply. The structure was intact, but my emotions weren't. Every tick against me felt personal. Every pause felt eternal. But I held. I waited. Not because I was sure it would work, but because I promised myself I would obey my structure. And when the breakout finally came, it wasn't about the profit. It was about the proof. Proof that patience pays not just in money, but in mastery. From that day, something changed. Trading stopped being a hunt for entries and exits. It became a mirror of my inner world. Each chart became a test of emotional control. Each setup became a lesson in self-awareness. Because the market doesn't create your emotions, it exposes them. If you are fearful, it will show you fear. If you are greedy, it will amplify greed. If you are patient, it will reward patience. Not every time, but over time. Discipline is not built in moments of clarity. It's built in moments of doubt. When everything inside you screams, do something, and you choose to do nothing. That's where transformation begins. Not in profit, in pause, not in movement, in mastery of stillness. Now, when I trade, I no longer chase certainty. I chase calm. I chase alignment between my plan and my mind. And that's what the Patience Timer Plus truly means. The plus is not a feature. It's an evolution. It's the moment when patience becomes identity. When waiting is no longer a chore, but a choice. When structure isn't just technical, it's psychological armor. You start seeing structure everywhere, not just in the chart, but in yourself, in your habits, in your reactions, in the way you breathe when the market moves against you. Every deep breath becomes a trailing stop on emotion. Every pause before action becomes a signal of growth. You start realizing that the real trade isn't in your position, it's in your patience. The more I practiced this, the more peace I found. Not because I won every trade I didn't, but because I stopped losing myself in them. Losses still hurt, but they no longer define me. Wins still feel good, but they no longer control me. Because structure holds me steady. Discipline holds me true. Patience holds me free. I've learned that the real measure of a trader is not how much they make, but how long they can wait without losing focus. Patience is not the absence of action. It's the precision of timing. It's the discipline to move only when it matters. And when you master that, the market becomes quiet. Not because it changed, but because you did. Now, before every trade, I remind myself, wait for structure, trust the plan, respect the timer. Because trading isn't about predicting price, it's about mastering self. And in that mastery, there's freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from hurry, freedom from the need to be right. When I let go of all that, I found something better: consistency. So if you ever find yourself staring at the chart, feeling that itch to act, remember this: the timer is ticking, but it's not counting down to your next move. It's counting up toward your next level of discipline, toward the version of you who no longer trades for excitement, but for excellence. Because in the end, the market doesn't reward those who move the fastest. It rewards those who wait the longest, with composure. Those who follow structure even when emotion begs them not to. Those who choose patience not as a tactic, but as a way of being. That's what Patience Timer Plus truly is. It's not a method, it's a mirror. And every time you look into it, you don't just see the market, you see yourself, your habits, your fears, your growth, and maybe that's the point. Because trading, like life, isn't about control. It's about alignment with structure, with patience, with discipline, with yourself. So when the next setup comes, I'll do what I always do: set the trade, set the stop, set the timer, and then I'll wait. Because I know the moment I stop trying to control the market is the moment I start mastering me. If you've made it this far, you already understand. The greatest trade you'll ever place isn't with the market, it's with your own mind. You learn to risk comfort for growth. You learn to surrender control, and in that surrender, you find mastery. Every time you reset your patience, every time you wait through the noise, you're becoming something few ever become: a trader who is truly free. So the next time the market tempts you to act, remember this voice. Remember the timer. Remember who you are when you are still. This is Mind Over Markets, where every trade is a reflection and every moment of silence is another step toward discipline. Until next time, trade with patience, trade with structure, trade with peace.